Okay, so imagine this. You walk into a factory and it's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Robots and humans working side-by-side machines talking to each other,
Every process humming along perfectly.
and all of it powered by data.
Sounds pretty wild.
Right, it's closer than you think.
We're talking about IT-OT convergence.
It's where the world of IT, all those computers and networks,
Meets the world of OT, those big machines and physical processes you see on a factory floor.
and it's changing everything.
To help us break it all down, we're diving into a report by Jonathan Saunders.
This guy has spent decades in factories.
From textiles to metal forming, you name it, he's seen it.
And more importantly, he's seen firsthand how companies are trying to make IT and OT work together.
And he doesn't sugarcoat it. He talks about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
But what's exciting is the potential this convergence unlocks.
Think about it being able to analyze data from every single machine in your factory.
In real time.
You could spot bottlenecks, predict when a machine's about to break down.
And optimize your entire operation like never before.
But Saunders is also realistic. He points out some serious challenges that companies need to address.
He highlights 3 big ones.
Security interoperability and finding the right people with the skills to bridge the IT-OT gap.
Let's start with security because, let's be honest, that's a big one.
Especially when you consider that a lot of these older OT systems were designed way before cybersecurity was even a thing.
Right. They were never meant to be connected to the internet or accessed remotely.
So it's kind of like leaving your front door wide open and hoping for the best.
And when these systems are responsible for controlling critical processes in a factory, well, you can see why security is such a huge concern.
Saunders even gets into how the way machines are programmed can impact security.
He talks about these things called PLCs, programmable logic controllers.
Basically the brains behind a lot of machines.
And it turns out there's a difference between synchronous and asynchronous programming.
And it's a lot more important than you might think.
Think of it this way. Synchronous programming is like a symphony orchestra.
Everyone's playing from the same sheet music. Everything is timed perfectly.
Asynchronous programming is more like a jazz band.
It's more improvisational and flexible.
Now, this might seem like a technical detail.
But it actually affects how data is secured and how threats are detected.
Different approaches require different security measures.
So it's not just about building a wall around your systems, it's about understanding how those systems work and tailoring your defenses accordingly.
Okay, so we've talked about security.
Now onto the second challenge, getting these different systems to talk to each other.
Because believe me, IT systems and OT systems often speak very different languages.
It's like trying to have a conversation with someone who only speaks Klingon.
And trying to translate between those languages can be a real headache.
So how do you bridge that communication gap?
It often involves a mix of custom software, middleware solutions, and, let's be honest, a whole lot of patience.
Sounds like a recipe for a migraine.
It definitely can be.
And then there's the human element.
Finding people who can understand both IT and OT is absolutely crucial.
It's like finding a unicorn.
These are the folks who can translate between the tech world and the factory floor.
So they need to speak both geek and grease.
Exactly. And those skills are in high demand.
Which means companies need to invest in training and development to make sure they have the right people for the job.
All right, so we've got these 3 big challenges: security, interoperability, and the skills gap.
But Saunders doesn't just point out the problems. He dives into some specific technology barriers that can make this whole IT-OT merger even trickier.
One of the biggest ones he highlights is device authentication.
Basically making sure that every device and every piece of data is protected.
It's like having a security checkpoint for each machine on your factory floor.
You need to make sure only authorized personnel have access.
But here's the catch. A lot of older machines might not have the hardware or software to support these modern security measures.
It's like trying to install the latest security software on a computer from the Stone Age.
Sometimes it's just not possible.
So what do? Scrap all the old equipment and start from scratch.
Well, that's not always feasible.
Especially for companies that are on a tight budget.
Often it involves finding creative workarounds.
Like isolating those legacy systems or implementing layered security measures.
It's a balancing act between security and practicality.
Okay, so we've got device authentication.
Another key barrier Saunders talks about is data monitoring.
In a converged environment, you need to be able to see what's happening on your network in real time.
Think of it like having security cameras all over your factory floor, but for your data.
You want to know who's accessing what and when.
And more importantly, you want to be alerted if anything suspicious is going on.
So it's not enough to just build the walls. You need to have guards on patrol watching for intruders.
Precisely. And with the sheer amount of data flowing through these systems, you need automated tools to help you monitor everything effectively.
It sounds like ITOT convergence requires a whole new level of vigilance.
It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing.
It's about continuous monitoring, adaptation, and staying one step ahead of the bad guys.
Now we've spent a lot of time talking about the challenges.
But all this effort must be worth it, right?
Absolutely. There are some serious benefits to be gained from ITOT convergence.
Saunders lays out a pretty compelling case.
He talks about increased efficiency, enhanced decision-making.
And of course, cost savings.
Who doesn't love cost savings?
Okay, let's break it down. What exactly does he mean by increased efficiency?
Think about streamlining workflows, eliminating bottlenecks.
Reducing downtime?
By integrating IT and OT, you get a real-time view of your operations.
You can spot problems before they become major issues.
And you can make adjustments on the fly.
It's like having a GPS for your factory guiding you towards the most efficient route.
And it's not just about doing things faster, it's about doing them better.
Saunders points out that real-time monitoring and control can actually lead to higher quality products.
And it can open up new possibilities for innovation.
Now let's talk about those cost savings. What kind of numbers are we talking about here?
Well, Saunders has a great anecdote about a customer who was obsessed with finding their best day.
Their best day? What does that even mean?
It's about using data to figure out when your factory is operating at peak performance.
Identifying that magical day when everything just clicks.
And then using that information to figure out how to make every other day just as good.
So it's like finding the holy grail of manufacturing efficiency.
Exactly. And by analyzing that, data companies can reduce energy consumption, minimize maintenance costs, and cut down on waste.
Sounds like a win-win-win.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just the tip of the iceberg. Saunders highlights a whole ripple effect of positive outcomes.
From better asset management to employee empowerment to a more efficient supply chain.
It's about breaking down silos and connecting different parts of the business.
Creating a more integrated and holistic approach to manufacturing.
Now, we've painted a pretty rosy picture of the benefits.
But let's be real for a second.
ITOT convergence isn't a magic bullet.
It requires companies to embrace some pretty disruptive technologies.
Saunders devotes a whole section of his report to exploring the impact of those technologies.
And he doesn't shy away from the potential challenges. Okay, so let's talk disruptive tech. What are we talking about here?
He starts with the big one, automation and robotics.
Those robots are coming for our jobs.
Not necessarily. It's more about robots and humans working together.
Augmenting human capabilities, not replacing them.
Taking over those repetitive tasks that are, frankly, pretty boring.
So humans can focus on the more creative and strategic aspects of work.
Precisely. The factories of the future will need a workforce that's skilled in both the technical and the human side of things.
So we need people who can code and collaborate, who can troubleshoot a machine and brainstorm new ideas.
Now with all this data flying around, how are companies supposed to manage it all?
That's where things like AI and machine learning come in.
It's not just about collecting data, it's about understanding it, extracting insights, and making predictions.
So data becomes a strategic asset, not just a bunch of numbers sitting in a spreadsheet.
And of course, we can't forget about cybersecurity.
With all these interconnected systems, the threat of a cyber attack is very real.
Saunders stresses the importance of a multi-layered approach to security.
Securing legacy systems, implementing strong access controls.
And constantly monitoring for threats.
It's a never-ending battle.
But one that companies can't afford to lose.
All right, so we've got robots, data skills, and security.
It's a lot to take in.
And Saunders doesn't stop there. He also talks about the need for flexible production lines.
Infrastructure upgrades.
And energy and resource management strategies.
It's a reminder that ITOT convergence isn't just about technology.
It's about transforming the entire manufacturing ecosystem.
From the shop floor to the supply chain to the way we think about work itself.
It's a pretty radical shift.
But one with incredible potential.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into ITOT convergence,
keep one thing in mind.
This isn't just a trend.
It's a fundamental shift that's going to reshape the manufacturing landscape.
And companies that embrace this change will be the ones that thrive in the years to come.
The ones that cling to the old ways of doing things.
Well, they might just get left behind.
It's not just about keeping up.
It's about staying ahead of the curve.
So buckle up.
Because the future of manufacturing is intelligent.
And it's coming fast. You know what really struck me about Saunders' report? ITOT convergence isn't just about making factories more efficient. It's about making them more intelligent.
Okay, but what does that even mean? Like a factory that can do its own taxes?
Not quite. Think of it more like a factory that can learn from its own data. adapt to changes, make decisions without someone needing to step in every 5 seconds.
So it's not just putting tasks on autopilot, it's about giving machines the ability to think for themselves.
Exactly. And that's where AI and machine learning come in. They allow machines to analyze huge amounts of data, spot patterns, make predictions that humans might miss.
That sounds kind of amazing, but also a little bit, I don't know, creepy. Are we talking like a Terminator situation here?
Nothing that dramatic. While AI and automation will definitely change how we work, it's not about replacing humans entirely. It's more about augmenting our capabilities. Letting machines handle those boring, repetitive tasks.
So we can focus on the stuff that requires, what, like creativity? Problem solving?
Exactly. The most successful factories of the future will be the ones that find that sweet spot between human ingenuity and machine intelligence.
Saunders talks about the need for a skilled workforce to make all of this happen. What kind of skills are we talking about? Is it just coding and algorithms?
It's more than just tech skills, although those are super important, don't get me wrong. We also need people who can think critically, solve problems creatively, communicate effectively across different teams.
So you're saying we need people who can speak both tech and shop floor?
Exactly. We need people who can bridge that gap between IT and OT, understand both the language of data and the language of machines.
Sounds like we need a whole new breed of worker, the IT-OT hybrid. But where do you even find these people?
That's the million-dollar question. It's going to require a huge investment in education and training. We need to start preparing the workforce of the future now, equipping people with the skills they'll need to succeed in this new industrial landscape.
So we're talking about a major skill shift. Now let's go back to something we touched on earlier, the ethical implications of all this. What happens to the human element in this super automated world? Do we just become like irrelevant?
That's a crucial question, and one we absolutely cannot ignore. As we give machines more and more power, we need to think very carefully about the potential impact on jobs, privacy, even human safety.
So it's not just about making factories more efficient, it's about making sure that everyone benefits from that efficiency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that this technological revolution doesn't leave anyone behind.
It sounds like IT-OT convergence is about way more than just plugging machines together. It's about completely rethinking the entire manufacturing process, from the factory floor to the boardroom.
Absolutely. It's about creating a more sustainable, more resilient, more equitable future for manufacturing. And that's something worth striving for.
Indeed it is.
Are you ready to ignite your digital transformation journey? Lumos LLC is here to guide your business through the ever-changing digital landscape.
Whether you're tackling Brazil's LGPD data protection challenges, fortifying your systems with robust cybersecurity, or ensuring your operations never miss a beat with top-tier backup and disaster recovery services,
Lumos LLC has the expertise you need.
we're also leading the way in bridging the gap between OT and IT, ensuring seamless integration on the shop floor and in industrial manufacturing.
Stay ahead of the curve and power your future with confidence.
For more information, visit www.lumos-llc.com or connect with us on LinkedIn and YouTube.
Lumos LLC, lighting the way to your digital future.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been talking about this whole IT-OT convergence thing, and it sounds pretty intense.
It is a big shift.
But is this just something that huge companies with tons of resources can do?
You know what? One of the most interesting things Saunders points out is that IT-OT convergence isn't just for those big corporations.
Really? So smaller companies can get in on the action too?
Absolutely. Small and medium-sized businesses are finding ways to leverage these technologies as well.
So it's not just about having deep pockets and a whole army of engineers.
Not at all. For one thing, technology has become way more affordable.
So what used to cost a fortune is now within reach for smaller companies.
Exactly. And cloud-based solutions make it even easier.
Yeah.
You don't need a massive IT infrastructure to get started.
Okay, so the playing field is a bit more level now.
Exactly. And the potential benefits are just as significant for smaller companies.
Even small improvements can make a big difference to their bottom line.
Absolutely.
So let's say you're a smaller company and you're thinking about dipping your toes into this IT-OT world.
Where do you even begin?
It can feel pretty overwhelming.
I'd say start small.
Don't try to boil the ocean.
Exactly. Focus on one specific problem you're trying to solve.
And don't be afraid to experiment a bit.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach to convergence.
So it's about finding the right solution that fits your needs and your budget.
It's like finding the right pair of shoes.
You wouldn't wear hiking boots to a wedding.
Exactly. And just like buying shoes, it's important to do your research.
Talk to experts.
Maybe try a few different options before you commit.
And speaking of expertise, we can't forget about the people.
Even with all this amazing technology, you still need people who know how to use it.
So investing in your workforce is key.
Absolutely. Train your employees. Communicate clearly about the changes you're making.
And make sure everyone understands how they fit into the bigger picture.
It's about bringing people along on the journey.
Not just throwing technology at them and hoping for the best.
Exactly. IT/OT convergence is a team sport.
Everyone needs to be on board to succeed.
Now we've talked a lot about the potential benefits.
But let's be realistic for a moment.
Are there any risks involved?
Because no technology is perfect.
Of course not. Anytime you're dealing with technology, especially complex systems, there's always a chance that things could go wrong.
So what kind of things could go wrong? What's the worst case scenario?
Well, cybersecurity is a major concern.
Right. The more connected your factory is, the more vulnerable it becomes to hackers.
Exactly. A successful cyber attack could shut down your entire operation.
And it could compromise sensitive data.
It could even cause physical damage to equipment.
So it's like building this super efficient factory and then someone comes along and just pulls the plug.
It's a scary thought.
So companies need to be really proactive about cybersecurity.
Absolutely. Strong security protocols, firewalls, intrusion detection systems, employee training.
It's like building a fortress around your factory.
And then having a plan for what to do if someone manages to breach the walls.
Okay, so cybersecurity is a big risk.
What else?
Well, we talked about the need for new skills.
Right.
And the possibility that some jobs might be displaced by automation.
It's a tough reality.
But it's something we need to address.
Companies need to be proactive about retraining their workforce.
And helping them transition to new roles.
And governments need to invest in education and training programs.
So we can prepare people for the jobs of the future.
It's about managing this transition carefully and responsibly.
Making sure that no one gets left behind.
Exactly. We need to make sure that this technological revolution benefits everyone.
Not just a select few.
It's about progress, but it's also about fairness.
Okay, so we've talked about the risks, and we've talked about the rewards.
But at the end of the day, IT/OT convergence is about so much more than just connecting machines.
It's about reimagining the entire manufacturing process.
It's about creating a future where manufacturing is more sustainable, more resilient.
And more equitable.
It's a future worth fighting for.
Well said. Now, before we wrap up, Saunders leaves us with one final thought-provoking question.
Oh, what is it?
As factories become more intelligent, what ethical considerations arise from increased automation and data collection?
It's a big question.
It gets to the heart of what it means to be human in this increasingly automated world.
As we give machines more and more control, we need to be incredibly mindful of the implications.
So what kind of implications are we talking about?
Well, for one thing, there's the question of bias.
Bias. How does that play into things?
If the algorithms that control these systems are trained on biased data, they could perpetuate existing inequalities.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the data that feeds it.
And the people who design and implement it.
We need to be aware of the potential for unintended consequences.
Absolutely. And then there's the question of privacy.
With all this data being collected about workers and operations, how do we make sure that privacy is protected?
It's a delicate balance.
We need to find the right balance between innovation and responsibility.
Between progress and protection.
And it's a conversation we need to be having right now.
Before it's too late to course correct.
So what can our listeners do to make sure that this future of intelligent factories is one that benefits everyone?
I think the most important thing is to stay informed.
Stay engaged.
And stay curious.
Read about these technologies, learn how they work, think critically about the implications.
Ask tough questions. Challenge assumptions, demand accountability.
Don't be a passive observer.
Be an active participant in shaping the future.
Because at the end of the day, it's our future.
Well said.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the world of IT/OT convergence.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you.
The pleasure was all mine. And to our listeners, we want to hear from you. How do you see this convergence impacting your industry? What are your hopes and concerns about this increasingly automated future? Join the conversation on our website or social media. Until next time, keep diving deep.